You ready?
Yep.
Okay. So academically, he's very strong, which I think you already know. He knows all of his uppercase letters and lowercase letters. I still need to test him on his sounds, but my sense is that he knows a lot of the sounds as well. And when he counted, like starting with 0, how high can you go? He went to 29. And that was like at the beginning of the year. So I have a feeling he can probably count well beyond 30 now, you know, and that's kind of like the end of the year. Like that's the goal for counting. He can write his name. I will work with him. You know, we do this Handwriting Without Tears, which is a special program for early childhood handwriting. And it's got sort of, if you look at this alphabet here, it has sort of a simplified or like the easiest to produce versions of the letters. And so we'll go through and learn all the letters. We have done, I think I've said we've done, it starts with L, you know, and then you do a bunch of letters that have similar strokes. So it's like L and I and H and T. Now we're doing some curved. So we've done C, and today we did O. You know, I don't know if you've noticed, but he does, I'm not sure exactly where he starts. I think maybe he starts at the top with his S's, but like, and then he draws the two halves.
He used to start the middle. And so he would go here and then go up and then go back to the middle and go down.
Okay.
And in preschool, I asked them if I should be working on correcting it, and she said no, it might even like disappear over the summer. And just like at this age, don't make a big deal out of it and just let it go.
I mean, I don't think anything you need to make a big deal out of. We teach handwriting just because they teach it again in kindergarten and in first grade, like, and keep it going. Proper letter formation and not having an idiosyncratic, like you want to just have an easy curved S, because when they're writing to express ideas, or, you know, or they're having to listen for the sounds and words to get the letters on paper, you don't want them focusing on like how they're drawing. You know what I mean? So it's just easy for them now to start learning the proper formation. And again, like I don't make a huge deal about it, and we certainly don't really care about if they're reversing at this age, but just kind of like starting at the top. All of our letters start at the top. And then getting them comfortable, at least, with knowing how to properly form the letters. And what I tell them is like, I'm teaching you a way that's fast and easy. It's like the fast and easy way to write your letters. And once you start writing more, you want to be able to write your letters quickly. And so try them this way. But again, I'm not going to make a huge deal. I would love to see him get to a regular S, though.
I was hoping that when you get to that letter that he might switch. He's been writing Angel a lot at home. We have a dry erase board.
Oh, nice.
He keeps asking how to spell Angel.
Angel, his friend.
Yeah.
He's a great kid. He's a highly desired peer in the class. Like everybody wants to play with Cassius.
When I come in, they always tell me that he's their best friend. I'm like, he can't. You know, and we at home, we only hear about Rowan and Layla. Rowan, Layla.
Nyla at all?
I've never heard Nyla's name. It's interesting. This happened last year, too, in preschool. Max or Isaac? I think it's more Isaac than Max.
Yeah, he's...
I mean, an Angel. Yeah. Well, every so often, someone else's name will come up if he played with them specifically. But in general, if he's talking about his best friends, it's...
like Rowan and
just Rowan.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. He has time to name as one, but
well, he plays really well at school and plays with
fun room.
Everybody.
It was fun to watch him like talking to Allie and to see that he like had friends that I've never heard him talk about. So
and he's, like I said, you know, there's a little bit of a, you know, jockeying to sit by Cassius at the rug or whatever, you know, there's a little fighting over Cassius. So, but he's, you know, he's just a great kid. And I think it's because socially, he's very competent. He's, you know, he's very sweet. He's very at ease. He's, you know, he's fun.
That's good to hear.
You know, all of those things.
Is this all his other classmates? Is this their second year of school too? Do they like all have preschool? And then
I think a couple of them were at daycare as opposed to a preschool.
Some daycares can be pretty
preschooly too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say, you know, some of them definitely had preschool. So probably the majority had preschool. You know, certainly they've been in some kind of schooling or daycare situation.
But what we did since like probably 2 years old is we had a lot of library time too. So I think that was definitely really beneficial.
Yeah. He's very very into the inquiry work. He's very into
Hear the vocab.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's fun to hear, you know, like what was he saying? We were gonna I can't remember what word it was about exploring, but it was something about like that we needed
inquiry. Was it?
Maybe it was
inquiry. Inquire. Maybe.
Yeah.
I've been talking about them. We're working on cooperation this week, so we'll see if that one sticks. You know, and some of this language, you know, they're going to continue to hear it on up through the school, and it will become more meaningful to them. But I do try to do a lot with oral language and vocabulary, just because it's such a good time. And talking, they can do so much more orally than they can write or draw or whatever. So I like to have lots and lots of talk. And, you know, having them express complicated ideas and listening to each other. And that's, you know, that's a big thing for me. And he loves to participate. You know, he loves to offer an idea. Can totally handle it if he doesn't get a turn.
That is amazing to hear, because at home that doesn't come across. He's very headstrong and stubborn.
So interesting.
And if he doesn't get his way, there is no like backing down.
And
the minute I pick him up from school, I don't know if you've ever witnessed his like temper tantrums from the bike rack. He like lets it all out the moment he sees me.
Oh, interesting.
You know,
so he
if
kind of keeps it in during the day.
And then
keeps the stuff together.
if it's about putting his jacket on and it's like 45 degrees, you know, and windy, and I say, Cash, it's raining. We're going to put on your jacket.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait. You know, like jumping up and down and shaking his fist. So it's great to hear that he is, you know, at least in this environment.
In this environment, he holds it in. And it's funny, too, because I feel like he's gotten, in just the last couple weeks, he's gotten a little more, like, mischievous, like, playing with boys and stuff like that. But it's kind of like, okay, like it makes me feel like, okay, he's comfortable here. He's getting more, you know, it's not a problem. Because, you know, and I'm sure, you know, and it's possible, like, as he gets more comfortable, maybe we'll see a little more
showing all of his emotions.
I don't know, my kids, all three of my kids were like that. Like, they were all, like, they saved all, they saved all the crappy stuff for us at home. Yeah. So, and I was always like, great, you know, be good at school. Be a pain in the neck at home. That's totally fine with me.
He was the same way in preschool, because when I picked him up last week, I asked him if he wanted to go for a hike, and he just wanted to go home because he was tired. Because
it is. It's a long day.
It is.
In preschool, they laid down for us like 50 minutes, and he would usually fall asleep in that time. So this is his first year of no nap.
Yeah. And we do like 30 minutes of quiet time, but they're busy. They do puzzles or whatever. They won't like lay down and relax really very much. So let me just look at my notes. He really likes reading books. He really likes, he likes to mention, like, if we read something that they read at his preschool, he'd be like, oh, we had that book in my old school, you know, and he's super excited. His math is strong, you know, his sorting and picking out patterns and stuff like that has been fine. So, you know, I would say for him, because he's so strong with his letters and stuff, I'll continue to move on with that and work with him doing some kind of approximated spelling. So you'll see things like, you might see cut as KT, or, you know, where they're kind of like just listening for the sounds and a letter that makes that sound. So we'll do that. And I sent home that book pocket today.
Yes, we were just looking at it.
So, you know, the big thing with that is at this point, just putting their finger under the first letter of the word.
And he was reading
the little red hen. Yeah, so those like 2 words, and that's just like we want them having one-to-one correspondence where, you know, they see one word, and it matches one word they say with their mouth, and they know it starts here and it goes this way, and then we'll get to it goes this way and then back to here again, and all of those like early reading behaviors. And he's probably, we'll see, I'll introduce a little bit of sight words here and there, and he's probably ready to start learning. He might start picking out the and in, and
I don't know, he hasn't. The only thing he's really recognized in the books that we've read at home is when there's a, like, what is that called? A phonetic kind of word that's done in like,
like onomatopoeia,
yeah,
like bam,
bam or roar or things like that, where he'll know because it'll be in special fonts.
Yeah, but he's paying attention to that.
Yeah, and he did really well with sounding out words last year in preschool.
Yeah, it seems like he's getting there. So we'll see. I mean, it's not going to be any kind of pressure or anything like that, but just sort of, as he seems interested, and like the kind of writing we do. I think, was that stuff up when you came for curriculum night, the writing that we had?
I don't think so.
Let's go look back there really quickly. I'll show you. So this is what I do with them, and this is called interactive writing, where's the one that he was working on? Okay, so this is the one, I did this with him. So in the green is what he wrote, and in the black is what I wrote. So this will all be, this writing that I do with them, like this is like standard spelling. So right now, I'm focusing on like the beginning sounds of words, and like with R, he heard the R. So I wrote the A and he wrote the R. And so, we'll do this, and we'll do a little bit more of this. And then usually what you start to see is they'll hear the first sound, and then they can hear the last sound, and then they start to hear some sounds in the middle. And then, more and more towards the end of the year, he might be doing some of that on his own. And then it would be that like approximated or invented spelling, where you'll see just kind of like the strings of letters. And if you make those sounds, you'll be like, oh, that's, RBT, robot. Oh, okay.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so we'll do this, like when we go on our walking trips to Scarlet Mitchell Woods, we'll take photographs and write captions for them. I'll also start, seeing they're starting to build cool things, see if I can get them to write about that. But just, opportunities to write and tell stories and stuff too. So we'll be doing that. And then,
you say you guys hike in the woods with the...
We're going to do, we're going to do little walking trips. I will send home the permission form this week. We go visit the Scarlet Mitchell Woods several times and see how it changes over the course of the year. So we'll go soon before everything falls down and see, and hopefully there'll still be some stuff out at the pond that we'll see, like hopefully the ducks will still be there. And then when we go back in the winter, they notice, oh, the ducks are gone. And
so you haven't yet, because we've walked, and he has.
He has before. Yeah, good. Yeah, that's great.
He'll probably say something,
Yeah. So you talked to me. I'm sorry, I talked to you for longer than I meant to. Are there questions you have, or?
What about his Spanish? I hear the class is taking Spanish. That's great. How many days a week or?
They do twice. It's twice a week. It's Monday and Friday. They go to Spanish for half an hour.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, and I'll use. I know a tiny bit of Spanish, so I'll try to use a little bit of Spanish in the classroom, because especially we have some native Spanish speakers in the classroom.
Yeah.
Like Angel is one.
Right.
And and they always think it's hilarious when I use Spanish, and they're like, what are you doing? It's blue. But yeah, so he likes it, I think. Yeah, does he?
He does. He likes Spanish, and I was treated this weekend. We drove up to the Thumb for my mom's birthday, and also he had a new ukulele in the car, and he sang to me the whole way up there, and I got to hear songs from Spanish class, like Como te llamas? What's your name? I really want to know. That whole, and the Mitchell School.
Song?
I got to hear that song.
Oh, good, cool.
As well as like ones that I knew he knew, so it was fun because I heard new stuff.
Some new ones. Oh,
yeah,
cool.
he likes Spanish. I think he likes every.
He really likes school. Period.
The only day
last
that
year,
I told you that
he has school Monday through Thursday, and on Friday he would get up and he would be
early release day.
Early release day.
Yeah.
Picked him up today, but man, not a good day at school. so bored. It was just like, Cash, what was wrong? Well, we didn't go out to recess. Okay. And that was like the only bad day he's ever had.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, if it was the weekend, he'd be mad that it wasn't school. And
yeah, he seems really comfortable here.
Yeah, which, you asked me if we would stay. And the other question I had for you, and I know you might be biased in this, but what are your feelings on open?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you should probably
Rowan's
talk to Rowan's parents about it because they know it. I mean, I've heard great things about open. My guess is that the curriculum here would be a little more rigorous and interesting. That's because I think the IB curriculum is...
well, my daughter's friend's dad was like, oh, they're just, like, he was the only person I've ever heard, like, criticize it and be like, you don't want to have anything to do with that, like,
with open?
Yeah, just send him to regular school. Open is like...
It was sort of an alternative schools movement in the 70s. It's like the open schools movement. And, I mean, honestly, I'm not that familiar with Ann Arbor Open as far as, like, how they implement it. But I think it tended to be more like teachers teaching kind of like what they want and a little like more teacher autonomy and more kind of holistic.
Right.
And,
it's supposed to be like student led to learning and
but where is the school?
It's on the north side, but it's highly desirable. There's a lot. It's like
a lottery.
It's like community. It's a lottery.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you should check it out.
A lottery to get into an elementary?
Yeah, but they do have, but there is some positive side to it. They spend a lot of time outside and...
Stupid.
Yeah.
No, and
does it continue? You guys do, but does it continue like the rest of the...
Yeah, I mean, it's not 90 minutes a day like we do. It's not like recess. But yeah, they all go outside and do things with like Mitchell Woods. I mean, that's the thing with the IB curriculum too is like you're meant to get out of the classroom and be exploring the world, and so it's a high priority. I would say, the other thing about open to consider too is if you want him, it goes up through 8th grade. So if you want to avoid the kind of like transition to a big middle school that's fed by multiple elementary schools, that's I mean, Cassius doesn't need that, like he's great socially, so.
Yeah. Which other schools feed into Scarlet besides Mitchell?
Good question. I think it's Pittsfield. I can find out.
Oh, and Carpenter.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm sure Carpenter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
That was just idle curiosity. He will probably stay. I mean, he loves it here. He would not want to leave. He would be very upset if we changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right now, what we're probably looking at is he's going to stay here at Mitchell through 5th grade and then probably go to Tappan.
Oh, you're on Tessa's side? My daughter is like,
I thought that was you.
Go to Tappan.
Because,
I'm like,
Tessa goes to
you'll
Tappan.
Be in college.
But,
what does it matter? Your brother
that's true. That's a long ways away. You don't know.
I picked Tappan because,
where we live.
He might though, but for the same reason. The city bus route here, took like an hour and a half, and to get to Tappan, it was so much more direct.
Yeah.
Down the 4. Yeah. And so I was like,
there's a lot of
purely for
variables.
transportation.
Yeah.
And anytime I would drive her and we would pass by here, I'd be like, why did I pick Tappan again? But,
we don't know
driving,
much
I like
about,
that we're closer. But
Scarlet, we just know Tappan is very, very impressed with Tappan. But it seems like most of the Ann Arbor schools are pretty top.
Yeah,
I've heard.
And my kids all went to Tappan. So where's Tessa now?
Oh, Tessa's in 8th grade at Tappan.
She's in 8th grade at Tappan now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I have a freshman and a sophomore at Community, and then a 6th grader at Tappan.
She's entering the lottery, and her backup is Huron because she's choir.
Yeah, she loves the choir.
I bet she's been doing choir. She probably knows my daughter.
So where is she in?
She's in 9th grade now, but she did choir last. Did Tessa do choir last year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Her name was Sarah. She's transitioned to Sage.
I was gonna say you are gonna say Sage. You were like I heard the so many times. I'm like, you are Sage's mom. My daughter adores your daughter, and like because she's older, like Sage was like the super cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we are struggling through that whole deal because she's been dating TJ. Do you know Robin Kimmy?
Yes.
Watson. So. TJ has been in choir, and they're
yes, I've heard of TJ. I know.
TJ has been trying to transition for a year. Tessa's a little behind on all of this, but she's like trying to catch up as fast as she can, and we're trying to
figure it out.
Yeah, decide whether to just let them, that whole like never say no, and that's the worst thing you can do. And so I'm trying to just like let her be her middle school self and spread her wings and
whatever. I mean, my sense is that Sage like found this really cool group of kids that some of whom were like were queer and were trans or whatever, and they're really neat kids. And I don't know, like they're becoming more. I'm becoming more convinced. At first, I was like, "Really? Come on!" Like, since when? Like that was because it was just like it's just never. You hear about a lot of kids who you sort of know from a young age that they're just sort of.
That's what. Is it more prevalent? It's like, is it more prevalent, or is it? Are we talking about
one
it in
thing
a different way?
One thing I've noticed in Ann Arbor, for some reason. A lot of the kids have AD or are diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. Yeah. A lot of them are on medication. Well,
but this, I think it is like because where she grew up, we moved here when she was in 3rd grade.
Okay.
When I was pregnant with Cash.
Okay.
So we came from a very small community where it was not accepted.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And I'm sure she would have maybe come to some of these conclusions by college, but there's no way she would have been like.
Yeah,
with this haircut and this, she would not have known what a binder was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
what is?
A binder.
What is
binder is something to bind their breasts so that they look more like boys.
Oh, wow.
And like TJ has that like type of body. I've seen Sage in pictures, and I met her once at a choir thing last year, but I can't really picture her. But Tessa is like is well endowed from her father's side, and so it's like, oh, you are gonna hurt yourself. There's this other part of me that's like, your little experimenting at 13 could give you like permanent.
Well, my husband, who's a doctor, who's very concerned about that, did inquire and got back a pretty, like they're really, like they're extreme cases. There's, been somebody who's like kind of like cracked a rib or something if they're being really extreme about it or whatever. But in general,
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's what Tessa's friends are doing or something.
And then her grandma found one with Tessa this summer when she was away this summer.
Yeah, so who knows if this will stick or if this is just like the thing that's happened or if, I don't know. But, that's, I'm glad she likes Sage.
She loves Sage. And, and those are the people who became her friends. And she was miserable until she became friends with those people. So, we moved her over from Lincoln.
Or whatever for
6 months. It was
6
a long
months?
time.
I don't think it was that
she's
long.
always
it's
been
longer
like
than a
Cash,
couple
where she's
weeks.
just like
But it wasn't.
Fine.
But it was difficult.
Social situation
when
we moved down here.
Yeah, she's I've noticed that. She's usually good in social situations, how to handle herself.
She was at Lincoln at Brick.
Yeah.
Thanks,